The Wall Street Journal is talking about the decline of science. It's the politicization of science by the left. They use these things to exploit. They've used this to spend trillions of dollars, hundreds of billions that didn't even go towards fighting the virus. Hundreds of billions that went to critical race theory, that went to the teachers' unions, but apparently didn't go to improving these buildings or anything of the sort. The amount of waste, fraud, and abuse has been historic. It's unparalleled. And the stories are, rare. They pop up from time to time, but you know that the kind of money that's being spent and the kind of characters and the crooks that are involved in spending it is just beyond description. It's beyond imagination, actually. So let's take a look at this piece. Go.
After 3 years of living with COVID-19, the only thing the public's been fully immunized against is what they're being told by the voices of public authority.
We have over 100,000 children, which we've never had before, in serious condition, and many on ventilators.
Well, that's not true. We have not had 100,000 children in serious condition in U.S. hospitals. According to the CDC,
COVID pandemic is changing many behavioral patterns, but one of the biggest, for which we should thank the virus, is the death of official certitude.
When should I get tested? Why can't I find a test? Do I need to isolate 10 days, 5 days, or even at all?
The way this administration rolled out boosters was a disaster. You created skepticism and mass confusion.
By now, the public has been left numb, with few believing what politicians or the CDC say about COVID and Omicron. The answers they give no longer add up.
Do you know how many of the 836,000 deaths in the U.S. linked to COVID are from COVID, or how many are with COVID, but they had...
Stop there. I have been asking this question since mid to late March of 2020. Because when I went to the CDC website and I saw how they are collecting the data, the questions they're asking doctors and hospitals and other places, they made it abundantly clear that they were creating an ambiguity, an overlap. If anybody died and they had COVID, they were counting it as dying from COVID. When I brought this up, I was attacked by Soros's front group, Media Matters, and others for downplaying the virus. I wasn't downplaying anything. What's in it for me to downplay a virus, or like downplaying a hurricane, or downplaying a drought? I'm not downplaying anything. I just couldn't come to grips with what they were asking, and then the charts that they were putting on your monitors, your TV monitors, every single minute of the day. Which charts are missing now, aren't they? Because Biden's president. And if they apply the same standard, more people have died under Biden than Trump. We can't have that, can we, ladies and gentlemen? Go.
Comorbidities. Do you have that breakdown?
Those data will be forthcoming.
My purpose isn't to discredit public authority or science. We need both. It was public authorities who cleared the regulatory path for Operation Warp Speed, which let private sector scientists develop protective vaccines.
Now, President Trump told me, and he told the country during 1 or 2 interviews, public authorities didn't clear the path. He had to whip them in the shape to clear the path because it's loaded with red tape. That's why the development and acquisition of these kinds of vaccines literally take years. And in his case, took 9.5 months. Go.
Political interference, no bureaucracy, no red tape. It's been just an incredible, visionary approach.
My intention is to resurrect the idea of intellectual modesty, a necessary virtue.
How about intellectual integrity?
That would be good. To public life and its scientific representatives.
What happened during this pandemic is that many politicians outsourced their responsibility to the public to public health people.
Including Donald Trump.
Including Donald Trump. And the consequence of that is that the normal checks that would allow you to say, well, the politician made a good choice or not, have been offloaded to a set of people who have no checks at all.
You know what troubles me, and I like Peter Robinson, he's an old buddy of mine, including Donald Trump. Donald Trump's situation, not to be a special pleader, was extremely unique. This hit the whole country between the eyes. And instinctively, he knew immediately that certain things had to be done to limit travel from China. to get some vaccines, to get some therapeutics, to get the ventilators, to get the masks, and he moved into warp speed mode. And who was he supposed to rely on? The Department of Energy? Who was he supposed to rely on? It's not like there's a bunch of experts out of these colleges and universities who are already formed and in existence to talk to. He had to rely on the public officials of the federal government, as we all would. But then things got out of hand, and then he pulled back, and then he tried to whip them into shape, and then he pushed for Operation Warp Speed. I had people who sat in those meetings with Vice President Pence, people I know, some of whom are friends, and they told me the resistance that the Trump administration would get from the bureaucrats, including Birx, including Fauci. And there was a lot of disagreement because they were so cautious and they wanted to take it, where the administration said, we have lives to save here. No, and it was the administration that kept pushing it. They weren't trying to substitute their knowledge of science, that is the president and the others, which like the rest of us is minimal in this respect, with that of the so-called experts. They were trying to get the information from the experts, the data and the statistics, and make rational decisions. So that's why when somebody says they relied on the experts, including Donald Trump, that's not the whole story, certainly. And we brought on this program, we brought on my Fox program, experts coming out of Stanford and Yale, Rockefeller College, Oxford, and other places. We read that information. We found some sites on statistics that others hadn't found but used. We had a whistleblower call us from one of the nursing homes in New York. I think it was March 4, 2020, about what was taking place in the nursing homes. And we tracked all this stuff down. And I want to tell you, the resistance, not worse than the resistance, the hostility from big media, the hostility from the New York Times and the Washington Post, and the Democrat Party hit jobs, Media Matters and Mediaite and others, trashing somebody like me who was simply trying to explain what the experts were saying outside the realm of some of this politicized scientific propaganda that we were getting from the bureaucrats, was extreme. And then when you have big tech, that's about the time I resigned from big tech. I'd had enough because they kept putting these, scarlet letters on me, and that's not what this one says. I said, you know what? I'm not in third grade. I don't need them. And there are things going on out there that I have to be free to discuss with my audience. So rather than being followed by millions and millions of people on these phony sites, I'm getting off. We did it long before anybody else, including Rogan, because they're corrupt.
Want to see more Mark Levin? Go to LevinTV.com and subscribe now.